Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective, and today will be no different. Today I'm going to share with you 10 mucus eliminators that you can use during this winter or even the springtime for all that mucus that's being produced as a result of cough, colds, post-nasal drip, infections, or even allergies. Okay? Now, before we get into what those 10 mucus eliminators are, I think it's really important to understand that sometimes there are processes in the body that get a bad rap. And mucus is one of those, just like cholesterol is. And what I mean by that is our bodies naturally produce mucus. I mean, we have mucous membranes. We have a mucous membrane in all of our sinus cavities. We have a mucous membrane in the lining of our gut, which are pivotal and essential, okay? Now, what's happening is when we're overproducing mucus, especially in the sinuses, this is a clear-cut sign that there's a problem, okay? Now, the reason why I'm having that conversation with you first is because before we get into these solutions, it's important to understand that if you don't address the cause, you're just simply going to be in a vicious cycle. And it's essentially like jumping into water to save somebody from drowning, and as soon as you pull them out, you push them back in, okay? So you got to get yourself out of that vicious cycle, all right? And the way that you do that is first eliminate the cause, and then you can address it with some of these natural solutions that I'm going to give you in just a second, all right? But let's talk about what are some of the causes of mucus production or excess mucus production, because I think it's worth mentioning that, again, mucus production in the body is first a natural thing, and secondarily, it is something that is actually needed, okay? If your sinuses get dry, the production of mucus in those sinuses or in your nasal cavity or wherever it may be is to prevent them from getting dry, okay? But it also traps, irritants. It also traps, potential pathogens as well, too. So mucus does have a natural function in the body, okay? Now, the excess mucus is the problem. So let's get into a few reasons why you could be overproducing mucus. One, dehydration. Okay, so as soon as your sinus passages, any area of your body becomes dehydrated, then of course, just think about your nasal cavity for a second. When it gets dry and gets irritated, it starts to crack and then it bleeds, okay? All right, to avoid that, you produce mucus in your nasal cavity, okay? So it's really important to understand that there's a positive version of it and then there's an excess version of it. And quite often, most people are very dehydrated, and as a result of that, they start to produce mucus, okay? Which for a lot of people, they will think to themselves like, it feels like my allergies, like the back of the throat begins to itch. You start sneezing, okay, as you're producing this mucus. And you think you got a post-nasal drip, but again, it could be just simply because you're dehydrated and now your body is responding by producing mucus, okay? Number two, well-known infections, all right? If you have any type of infection, again, that mucus is being produced not necessarily just by the infection, it's also being produced to get rid of the infection too, because what you'll notice is that as you're supposed to expel or get rid of this mucus, all right, inside of that mucus is much of the infection. So it's also a method or a vehicle how we get rid of infection. But the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people have low-grade infections. A lot of people have suppressed immune system. And as a result of this, they're constantly producing mucus as a result. So they're easily prone to the common cold, whereas I cannot remember the last time I got a cold. Okay, so that's really important too. That's a major cause as well too. Another potential cause could be environmental. Okay, it could be the weather. It could, like springtime for a lot of people when there's a lot of pollen in the air, and that becomes an irritant to you, especially if you have a low histamine tolerance. Or maybe the weather in terms of, outdoors, the environment in terms of like what's in the air, okay? A lot of things are being sprayed in the air. A lot of fumes are in the air as well too. That could be an issue as well too. All right. Another major contributor, of course, is our diet. Okay. A lot of what people are eating today is mucus forming. Okay. It produces mucus as a result of what you're eating in your diet. And I'll tell you that when you eat a healthy, well-balanced diet, free from processed and mucus forming foods, your foods won't produce mucus in this way. Okay. So a lot of us are eating a lot of mucus heavy foods, and I'll get into what those mucus heavy or mucus producing foods are in just a second. All right. So a lot of it is the diet. I would have to go out on a limb to say probably 70% to 80% is your diet in some form or method. And the reason why I say that, even dehydration, okay? Eating and drinking a lot of dehydrating beverages and foods. Okay, so your diet is a huge part of why you're producing a lot of mucus. We'll get into that in one of the solutions in just a second. All right, another one is irritants. Certain perfumes. What people don't realize about perfumes and these car sprays to make the car smell good, these plug-ins that you're putting in your homes, a lot of the household products, a lot of these things are chemicals. And they're irritants to our bodies, and they're especially irritants to our sinuses. And as a result of us literally spraying things on our bodies that are literally chemicals, or putting things on our bodies that are literally chemicals, as a result of that, we're being irritated. And when the sinuses get irritated, again, it leads to inflammation. Inflammation leads to that production of mucus. Okay, so hugely important as well too. And it goes without saying, another one could be smoking. Okay, and even if you don't smoke, being in the presence of secondhand smoke as well too. And that is an irritant, because we know that if you look up the amount of chemicals that are in tobacco smoke, that are in these vapes, that are in, things like the hookah as well too. When you start to think about how they're affecting our sinuses and our lungs, this could be a problem as well too. Okay, so you go out one night, you hang out, you don't even have any hookah or whatever it is. All right. The next day you come back home, you're producing all this mucus. It was last night in the second hand. Okay, so that's also a problem. Another potential issue could be birth control pills. Okay, birth control pills can cause you to produce mucus. Also ACE inhibitors, which are high blood pressure medication as well too. An example would be lisinopril. Okay, and so medications could also cause you to produce excess mucus as well too. And then allergies. And again, allergies goes back to the diet, and it also goes back to our gut health as well too. So all these things are very connected. All right. So now that we've jumped into what some of the potential causes are, most importantly, you got to address those causes first. All right. Now that we've done that, let's get into some of the solutions. All right. Number one, all right, the sauna. Okay. Or you could just call it heat therapy. Okay. As you're heating up the outside of the body, it's going to naturally increase the core temperature inside of your body. And as you do that, you'll notice that you start to sweat on the outside. Well, quite naturally, you're going to do the same thing in a different way on the inside. And one of those things is the removal of mucus starts to go out of the body when you increase the core temperature. So a sauna is a very effective way. If you're one of those people who are constantly producing mucus, that could help. But here's a very key point. If you're going to go in the sauna, you got to drink water before, during, and after. And the reason why that's so important is the last thing you want to do is dehydrate yourself, because dehydration could actually lead to mucus production. All right, so you want to hydrate yourself. And I see a lot of people when they're in the sauna, they're not hydrated. Okay, a lot of them are going in there with the intentions to dehydrate. Okay, because they want to lose water weight, and they're thinking like this will be helpful. But it's very effective to drink water again before, during, and after the sauna. Okay. Number 3, ginger shots. Okay, ginger shots are really good. Not only because ginger is almost like, if you take a ginger shot, you're gonna notice that like there's a little bit of heat going down. So especially if you got the kind of mucus, like that throat mucus that's constantly being produced, that ginger is really good for that. That's primarily, unfortunately, being produced by a postnasal drip. But again, ginger can help with that when you take the ginger shot. And also ginger thins out the mucus as well, too. It's a natural expectorant. And also it's really good because it's antihistamine. Okay, so if you're having issues with producing mucus as a result of allergies, okay, allergies, histamines, ginger is a natural antihistamine. So ginger shots will be very helpful as well too. And you can also incorporate it in your food as well. Okay, I like to put it in my salads. All right. All right. Now I mentioned earlier one of the causes could be dehydration. So naturally the solution, number 3, could be hydration. So staying hydrated is very important too. Because again, this is why it's so important. When you're dehydrated, even if you're producing mucus, your mucus will be very thick and very difficult to expel from the body. So you may be blowing your nose, you may be trying to cough it up and get it out of your lungs or get it out of your throat, but it's so thick that it's very difficult to get rid of. You want your mucus to be very thin, okay? Hugely important. And the way that you can do that is by staying properly hydrated, not only with what you drink, but with what you eat as well too. All right, so that's really important. Number 4, stimulating your lymphatic system. Okay, one of the primary things that the lymphatic system does is not only does it produce mucus when you need it to produce mucus, but it also gets rid of infection, so that in the case where you have allergies and you're overproducing mucus, or you have an infection and you're producing mucus, well, the lymphatic system is going to collect all that mucus that has the infection in it, whether it be a bacteria or a virus, and put it in the lymphatic system. Now, your job at this point is to get it out of the body, and the lymphatic system only moves when you move, okay, or when you do deep diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, so stimulating the lymphatic system is going to be through deep diaphragmatic breathing, help to expand the lungs, break up that mucus, okay, but also through movement as well too. All right, that's how you stimulate the lymphatic system. So that's really important. And again, you're going to help the body more effectively deal with any kind of infection that you may or may not have. Okay, really important. Number 5. All right, number 5 is the nasal saline irrigation. Okay, you've probably seen like on TikTok or, some other video where they take a nasal saline solution or bottle, or maybe a neti pots, or any of the type of machines they have, put it in one nostril, flush out that nostril with the saline solution, and then all of a sudden all this mucus starts pouring out of the other nostril. Okay, so I've literally seen it with babies, and you'll see this literal glob of mucus just come out of the baby's nose, and all of a sudden they're clear. Okay, so nasal saline irrigation is definitely something that could be a great solution as well too. Just make sure when you're doing it, you do it with saline solution. Okay, now you can create your own saline solution by getting clean purified water or natural spring water, and then adding a little bit of Celtic salt to it and create your own solution. But you also can purchase it as well too. Do not use regular sink water, okay? Hugely important. And typically people would do that 1 to 2 times a day for a couple of days or a day or two. And then all of a sudden they feel their sinuses are clear, okay? So this is can be a game changer, especially for babies, but even for adults as well too. So nasal saline irrigation is definitely a big solution as well too, if you want to get that immediate clearing of mucus as well too. All right, so number 6. All right, number 6, going on a mucusless diet. Okay, and to know what a mucusless diet is, you got to know what foods are producing mucus. So what I will say, that there is some variation when it comes to going on a mucusless diet. There is some variation in terms of what people can tolerate. Some people can tolerate nightshade vegetables. Some people can't. All right, so what I'm going to do is stick to the ones that typically and generally produce mucus for people. All right, Sugar, okay? If you eat a lot of added sugar, when I say sugar, I'm talking about sugar that does not come from a fruit or a vegetable. If it does not come from a fruit or a vegetable, and you're eating that type of sugar, whether it be sweet sugar or bread sugar or white flour sugar or oat sugar or whatever it may be, sugar is going to cause more mucus production. So if you start to notice that you're getting a lot of mucus production, the first thing you want to stop is sugar. The next thing you want to stop is dairy, okay? We all know that dairy causes mucus because if you eat enough dairy, it will clog you up, okay? It will constipate you. It's a perfect glue. As a matter of fact, if you go and buy school supplies for a child, all right, and you look on the front of the bottle when I was a kid, it would have a cow on the front, okay? Because that glue is just like the dairy that is being produced by the cow, okay? So that's really important, all right? If you want to get rid of your mucus, you got to get rid of the dairy. That means not only milk, but the cheese and the yogurt and the sour cream, and the list goes on and on, all right? Refined carbohydrates, okay? Fried foods, coffees and teas because they dehydrate you, okay? Also processed foods, but also carbonated beverages and alcohol, okay? All of these things produce mucus. I'll explain in a second why alcohol produces mucus, but going on a mucusless diet is gonna be very helpful, okay? Again, mucus isn't just the issue in terms of you coughing, sneezing, and, hacking it up, but it's also an issue because the more of it you're producing, the longer the infection is going to stay in effect, all right? All right, number seven. Number seven is fasting, and I'm actually on a fast now. So I'm 24 hours into my fast. I don't know how long I'll go, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days. But one of the things that I notice right now, just 24 hours later of no food, only water, my smell acuity is through the roof. I can smell what's in my kitchen, and my kitchen is far away from here. Okay, so I can smell things that I typically don't smell. Okay, and that always happens when I go on a fast. That and also mental clarity, gut health improves always, but there's a lot of reasons why you should do a fast. But what I'm explaining to you is one of the things that you'll notice is that in the beginning, you may notice that you may start to hack up more mucus as a result of doing a fast, okay? But it clears it out, okay? So fasting is also one of those mucus eliminators that I was mentioning as well too. All right, number 8, herbal detoxing, okay? Now, the reason why I say herbal detoxing is a huge part of that is because there are certain herbs that are really great for getting rid of mucus, okay? And I'll name a few here, but I'll give you the best one at the end, okay? So oregano, wormwood, ginger is also a good one, marshmallow root. These are really good herbs for detoxing, as you probably know because you've done my detox, 3 of those are in my detox, okay, my full body detox. So that's one of the reasons why I included it in my full body detox, because one of the things you got to get rid of if you want to be healthy is you got to get rid of mucus, okay? You got to get rid of inflammation. You got to get rid of waste. You got to get rid of toxins, okay? And so that's why certain of these herbs in there, among many other reasons as well too. So herbal detoxing can also be very effective. So if you did my detox, you probably experienced mucus not only coming out of your sinuses, but you also probably experienced them coming out through your stool as well too. People will notice that a lot of the mucus will start to come out of their stool as well too when they're having bowel movements, okay? Number 9, avoid irritants, okay? Avoid irritants. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, again, when you come into contact with certain irritants, some of these irritants are just straight chemicals, but some of them are just prone to producing an allergic response or an immune response inside of the body, okay? So histamine-rich foods, okay, will cause you to start to produce mucus, Okay, well, I'll talk about a couple of those in a second. The perfumes and the household products, allergens, okay, that are in a lot of the processed foods that I mentioned in the mucus diet that you need to get rid of, okay? But also beer, wine, and alcohol will also irritate you to produce more mucus as well too. Nightshade vegetables, as I mentioned before as well too. If you are sensitive to certain nightshade vegetables like eggplant, like tomatoes, the list goes on and on, this could be a cause of why you're starting to produce mucus because your body has a sensitivity to them. So what I tell people is if you don't know if you have a sensitivity to these particular fruits and vegetables, then what you could do is do an elimination diet, eliminate them, and if the mucus goes away, some of the digestive issues go away, then you know that this is probably part of the issue, okay? So nightshade vegetables, shellfish, and fish in general have been known to be irritants that cause mucus production and other allergies as well too, okay? And also chocolate and processed meats, okay? So these are known irritants that not only produce mucus in the body and inflammation, but they irritate the body as well too. All right, so that's hugely important. And the last one, which is a herb, but again, I said herbal detoxing for number 8. But number 10, this is one of the best herbs when it comes to getting rid of mucus out of the lungs. So for my people out there who struggle with upper respiratory infections, lower respiratory infections, asthma, sinus infections, things of that nature, this is one of the best herbs when it comes to removing mucus, but also getting rid of inflammation. It also is very antiseptic as well too, meaning it can kill off some of the viruses and bacteria as well too. And that herb is, and I grab a handful here, is this. This is mullein. Some people call it mullein, okay? But this is mullein or mullein, whichever you want to call it. And this is very, very productive for getting rid of mucus in the lungs, okay? In the respiratory tract, okay? So you can have it as a tea, but as you can see here, I'll bring it a little closer, okay? All right, it sort of has like a fuzzy look to it. I keep it on hand just in case anybody is having an issue. And this is great, again, for making a tea. Now, before the advent of drugs, mullein or mullein was very popular and used when it came to pneumonia, tuberculosis, and whooping cough. Okay, so this is something you definitely want to have in the medicine cabinet at home, okay? Mullein, okay? Or mullein, whatever you want to call it, all right? So you definitely want to have that one on deck, all right? And the other beautiful thing is that you can use all of these in combination. You could take a ginger shot. You can do the sauna. Okay, you can go on the mucusless diet. You can also take a couple of days or a day or two where you do a little bit of fasting. You can also incorporate the nasal saline irrigation. You also can drink some mullein tea, okay? And you can also avoid some of these known irritants as well too. So you could do a combination of these things to get an even better effect. So it's not just about choosing one or two. You can do this in combination. It'll be very effective, not only for you, but for your children as well too. Hugely important, all right? So make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like button if you love the content today. If you don't hit the like button, you don't hit the subscribe button, it just tells me this is not what you like, so I don't need to talk about this anymore. And maybe I talk too long, so maybe I need to just not give as much information, all right? So, but if you hit that like button, you hit the subscribe button, share this with other people, it tells me this is what you love, and I'll do it more. All right? So until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.